Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. After Sir Ian Livingstone left as Chief Constable of Police Scotland, a man tainted by his association with the SNP, where a lot of things that went, let's just say, uninvestigated, where perhaps they should have been. However, there is brought in Jo Farrell, the new great hope for justice and honesty and truth in Scottish policing. It was told that she was honest and upright and wasn't tainted at all by any kind of misappropriation or misuse or anything like that. She was an honest copper. Well, 2 weeks into the job, and she screwed up that reputation royally. It was at the time of Storm Babette, the trains were cancelled, and rather than making her own way home, hiring a car, driving her own car, doing something like that, she got a policeman to drive her and a senior colleague home. You may think, well, that isn't too bad, is it? Until you realise that she doesn't live in Scotland. It's a long way from Edinburgh to her home, to her colleague's home, and then back to Edinburgh. It's 6 hours, in fact. The police are always telling us how understaffed they are, how under-resourced they are, and yet the Chief Constable can find time to take one officer out of duty for 6 hours, remove a vital car that could have been used to attend incidents, and all because she couldn't hire a car to get her home. 2 weeks on the job, Jo. It's not looking good. Let's have a look at this story, see what's going on. Here goes. So there we go. 2 weeks on the job and already questions about her integrity are being asked. It's not a good look, is it? How can you possibly have the trust of people when the first thing you do is misuse the resources of the police for your own personal benefit? We shouldn't expect anything less. This is Police Scotland after all. It was set up corruptly. It is a cancerous organisation. Her first duty on turning up was to say how awful and racist it was, hardly inspiring confidence in her officers below her. I think her time is already numbered. Not so long until she's gone, I suspect. Nobody wants to work under her, and especially now, as she is seen as being somewhat dishonest, which is not a good look in the country's senior police officer. But anyway, new police chief Jo Farrell under fire after ordering an officer to drive her from Edinburgh to England to go home. Oh dear. The chief constable was only in her post for 2 weeks before taking an officer away from the front line as Storm Babette wreaked havoc on Scotland so she and a male colleague could get home. To whose home, I wonder? His or hers? Depends. Whose husband or wife would be away? You never know with these things. But during a time when policemen are at a premium, during an emergency, that storm was not good. And she thinks it's okay and acceptable to remove a frontline officer plus his vehicle so she can get her own way home. Bless. Scotland's new Chief Constable has been accused of abusing her power after ordering an on-duty officer to drive her to England during Storm Babette. Chief Constable Jo Farrell and a senior male officer from Durham Constabulary were taken in a Police Scotland car for the roughly 120-mile round journey, less than 2 weeks into her new job. It meant the officer driving them was out of action for about 6 hours during their shift on Friday, October the 20th, the peak, of course, of the storm. Speaking to the Scottish Sun, a source said, "It is an awful lack of judgment and a kick in the teeth to frontline officers. And especially as she's the one saying that they're massively under-resourced. Even more so, Jo, when you get yourself a little private chauffeur at, I will point out, taxpayers' expense. I hope you're paying his wages for that time out of your money." It meant the... we just done it. Sorry. Chief Constable Farrell apologised tonight for organising the lengthy journey. The 55-year-old called in an officer and Police Scotland car to make the 6-hour round trip as the UK was being battered by Storm Babette. Yes, rather than having the man out there actually doing his job, it was much important that she got her arse home. The journey on the night came as emergency services were swamped with incidents related to the deadly weather. Chief Constable Farrell, who took over from Ian Livingstone on October the 9th, was joined on the journey south by a colleague from Durham Constabulary. What the hell's he doing in Scotland if he's from Durham Constabulary then? Having a little liaison dangereux, were they? And what is wrong with her? She's on a good salary. She can afford to stay at a motor lodge or something, can't she? Put her up in a Premier Inn for the night. It'd be a lot cheaper and easier, wouldn't it? It was understood that Miss Farrell was dropped at her home in Northumberland area, while Northumberland's massive. To pick an area in Northumberland, anyway. While the male colleague is understood to have been taken to Gateshead. Police Scotland, there's a great pub in Gateshead called the Feathers. I recommend it. The Police Scotland cop then had to make his way back to the Edinburgh area. The Chief Constable said, I requested my office to arrange a car for me to drive home to Northumberland after work. I was unable to complete the journey by train as services had been cancelled and my own police vehicle was unavailable. I've apologised for this error of judgment. No, Joe, this is not an error of judgment. This is a deliberate misuse of police resources. This is you getting home at taxpayers' expense. This is not a misuse. This is not a mistake. This is not an error of judgment. It was a deliberate decision by a senior officer to remove a frontline officer at a time of what could have been a national emergency. If your judgment is so bad, then you shouldn't be in that role. We don't want people making bad judgment calls in senior positions. Resign. A spokesperson for the Scottish Police Authority said the authority is aware that the Chief Constable stole public funds by using a police vehicle following the cancellation of a scheduled train journey. She has not yet repaid the money that his salary and the fuel would have come to. The chair has discussed this with the Chief Constable, who's apologised. Apologies don't pay the bills, love. You know what I'm saying here? So you want 6 hours of his wages repaid, plus the fuel cost and the fair use costs of the car for that journey. I think that would be the only way you're going to salvage anything here. The authority considers the matter closed. Now, that's fine. Does the public purse consider that the matter is closed? Or does the public purse think that the, let's say, £300 that she would have to repay should be repaid? Is that what we'd think would be fair? £300? I think it's a fair amount. Sources insist the Chief Constable has told colleagues no alcohol was involved on the Friday evening. Doubt it. Senior officers, drinkies, I think so. Rank and file officers are said to have been extremely surprised by the incident so soon after her appointment. Of course they are. In fact, astonished. An insider said it just looks terrible. Yes, it does. Especially as it happened during Storm Babette when obviously driving conditions were very poor. She actually put a man's life at risk to get herself home. It begs the question of why she didn't just stay overnight in Edinburgh or use the Police Scotland accommodation. Bada-boom, I just said that. Great minds thinking alike. Scottish Conservative Justice spokesman Russell Findlay said the new Chief Constable is tasked with making extremely difficult financial decisions due to SNP budget cuts, which makes her misuse of police resources even more jarring. SNP ministers created Police Scotland and its Scottish Police Authority oversight body, and they appear content with their nothing-to-see-here response to this incident. The SPA says this matter is closed, but that's not good enough. No, just because they say it's closed doesn't mean it's closed. Let's keep this open. Let's see Jo Farrell resign. She stole money. She stole a driver's wages for 6 hours. She stole the use of a police car for 6 hours. She stole the petrol that was used in that journey. That is misuse and misappropriation of public funds. That is a crime. She needs to be prosecuted. She needs to resign, and she needs to be out of that job. If she sits there and thinks that she can get away with that, especially with limited policing resources, then she is not suitable to be the Chief Constable. SNP blah 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 done that, and then said he continued. This is Russell Findlay continuing. He said there are many unknown details and unanswered questions, including what, if any, consideration was given to the safety of the officer who was ordered to complete this 250-mile round trip in dangerous weather conditions. No consideration at all. And he would have been driving on his own. Who knows, there could have been an accident or something. So, you know, this is this woman who wants to be, look at me, look at all the fun and palaver, I'm the Chief Constable, and I'm just going to steal money from the public purse because I can't be asked to stay in a hotel overnight in the middle of a national emergency. Unfit for office. She needs to go. She needs to go now. She needs to be fired, not resign. She needs to be fired and have her pension stripped from her because she deserves that. If that's what she's doing, she deserves it. People could have died that night. Hell, people did die that night. And she's busy tossing off a copper in the back of a car, probably half pissed, who knows, while a driver is taken out of mainline duty. No. Gotta go. Coming up. So is this who should be in charge of Police Scotland? A woman with terrible judgment who 2 weeks into the job decides that taking people off the front line is a good idea, especially during an emergency, hasn't offered to repay back the entire costs of that journey, and for whom the police authorities say, oh, the matter's now closed because they don't want to go into the whole problem of having to get rid of her and find a replacement. It's cowardice. It's moral bloody cowardice, if nothing else. But it's also quite wrong. I don't want apologies from her. I want her to explain why she thought it was good, why she thought it was acceptable, and why she also thought that not repaying the cost was also something that was quite correct as well. Then she repays it, and then she resigns. And it sends a message to other senior officers that you're not getting away with this crap anymore. It's public money. She's the one moaning that the police haven't got the resources. She's the one wasting them. I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. You can make your own mind up on whether you think Joe should go, but I think Joe should go. You can't have this. You cannot have someone sitting there claiming poverty and then wasting money. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Goodbye.